president and ex-blogger Donald Trump has a range of legal problems. There's the ongoing criminal probe into the Trump Organization and its finances in New York. But now he's adding to his own caseload. He's suing his niece for allegedly $100 million, taking legal action against Mary Trump. Plus, the New York Times, he alleges there was a, quote, insidious plot to get at his tax records. Mary Trump providing the former president's tax documents to the New York Times for what was a Pulitzer Prize-winning, explosive article all the way back in 2018 that went farther and deeper into showing how he dodges taxes and whether some of that may or may not be illegal. Today, Mary Trump says this type of thing, the insults, the suits, this is just how their family communicates.
Their way of communicating with people they disagree with, shall we say, is to sue them, and that's exactly what they did. I guess this is how the Trump family communicates when they're not getting along.
This is how the family communicates. Now, we're going to show you some of what Trump says because you got to know it whether you agree with it or not. His allegation in the case is that there was an effort to smuggle the records out of his own files or his possession and provide them to the press. Now, Mary Trump writes in her own book that she says she had permission, which, of course, would be different than smuggling. A lawyer telling her she was actually entitled to take the documents. We should know Trump lost a legal challenge to try to prevent her book from coming out in the first place. Mary Trump also has said earlier this year that she was proud to be the source of that story.
You were ultimately the source for the tax story.
Yeah, I'm really proud of that, but I have to be honest with you, I didn't even remember I had them. So it's entirely down to the brilliant Suzanne Craig.
So that's the long history to get up to this case. Mary Trump is responding, and she's doing it in her own Trumpian way. She says that her uncle, for taking this action, is a, well, bleeping loser, and that this is desperation. The walls are closing in, and he's throwing anything against the wall that will stick. Again, the context is important. One would be forgiven to kind of tune out some of this stuff, which you can do as a news consumer. But if you have been tracking it legally, Donald Trump's entire company, his entire Trump organization that has been the lifeblood of both his reputation, his PR, and, yes, his money, has been indicted for tax crimes. The CFO's lawyer recently warned, as we reported, that more indictments could be coming. And the New York Times responding, because it is now a defendant in this case, the lawsuit is an attempt to silence independent news organizations. We plan to vigorously defend against it. This is not a drill. It is an attack on the free press. It is also a former president doing something that, frankly, most former presidents never do, which is spend their time out of office suing journalists and family members they oppose. Joining me now is former federal prosecutor Joyce Vance. Your views on Donald Trump's new suit against both his own family and the New York Times.
This is a curious lawsuit, Ari. You know, the word frivolous is not a word that lawyers throw around lightly about lawsuits because it has implications. Trump's Kraken lawyers learned that when they were sanctioned. But this suit borders on being frivolous. I'll just point out one instance, for instance. As to Mary Trump and the allegations that she violated her contract with Donald Trump in disclosing these documents, the complaint fails to point to a specific provision in the agreement between them that she breached. And that's, of course, essential if you're going to prove a contract claim. There'd be no reason to withhold that in the complaint. It could even mean that the complaint would be subject to a motion to dismiss. So at least on its face, without having access to the primary documents, this doesn't look like a lawsuit that's going very far.
I kind of get what he's doing because he's done this before and he uses the courts as a kind of a theater. Trump University was a case that he lied about repeatedly. He ultimately paid millions to people that he, by paying them, and you know, had signaled that he may have defrauded them, although he had a settlement that didn't technically admit fault. I get what he's doing. I get why he's doing it, and Mary Trump seems to as well with her somewhat cheeky comments. What I don't get is the when. Do you have any insight, legal or otherwise, into this coming up now?
Trump usually files lawsuits as an aggressive mechanism, right? This is his history, so he might file a lawsuit, for instance, to distract from other things that are going on around him or to try to send a message to people, maybe reminding folks that he does have non-disclosure agreements with them and that he will take to the courts to enforce them. It seems like a pretty foolish strategy, timing aside. For one thing, if it goes far enough, he'll be subjected to discovery. This is the notoriously deposition or interview shy former president who would have to ultimately sit for a deposition here. So that seems to imply that he knows that this is more of a stunt, perhaps a fundraising strategy, than it is a legitimate effort.
Yeah.
But New York has a relatively new statute, an anti-SLAPP statute, that will let Mary Trump seek a fast-track dismissal of the charges and to get attorney's fees, to have them awarded to her. So it looks like a bad legal strategy for the former president.
Yeah, you're referring to some of the types of laws that try to protect First Amendment and free press freedoms, make it less onerous to defend. Before I let you go, I want all viewers and Joyce to see what our colleagues and friends Rachel and Lawrence thought about this as they did what I had to do today, which is tiptoe up to some of the words we can't say. Take a look.
And I know you reported on this lawsuit that Donald Trump has filed today against Mary Trump in the New York Times. Right above it is Mary Trump's comment. And I can't say it on TV. So it's,
yeah, you can't. So there's part of it you can't say on TV.
I don't think the Times is going to have the same comment. This, I think he is a effing loser.
Joyce, that's also a free speech claim because she could say what she wants. That's not what she's going to say in court, though, huh?
One would think that when she was first given the news of the lawsuit, there might have been a little bit of shock and surprise involved in the response. But she's certainly a straightforward, plain-spoken woman.
Respect. And diplomatically put, Counselor. Joyce, good to have you on all aspects of this story, the seriously legal and the zany. Good to see you.